starting off our build session, this is all about focusing on building lean muscle. We're going to get the heart rate up here with some circuit training, but we're really focused on body weight and resistance training through the upper body, the lower body, entire body with some compound multi-joint movements. We're starting off with upper body for about 10 minutes here. You can see we have a resistance band attached to the nose, the front of the board. So we just have one resistance band. You can use any length. You can double up the length if you need to. And we strung it right through the front loop. We removed a handle, put it through the loop, and attached the handle back. You can leave that right to the side of your board, and we're going to start to warm up with some knee push-ups. So we're focused on warming up the core here. We're focused on form. We're getting our upper body fired up, our chest, our triceps, our shoulders, bringing those elbows right alongside the rib cage, so bringing them back. We don't want our elbows flaying out to the side here. These are tricep push-ups, warming everybody up. So we're on our knees just to focus on proper form, engaging the core. We can speed it up a little bit once we feel warmer, but it's all about getting started. So rock the board a little bit side to side, engaging the core, getting everybody used to the motion. We're going to move on now to seated curls. So you should probably do about 15 reps of the push-ups before you flip over for some seated curls. So we're seated on the board, hips are square, chest is up, core is engaged, and we're curling slowly with the resistance bands. So again, about 15 to 20 reps here, warming up the upper body, also engaging the core as we sit on the board before we move on. So we can just let those resistance bands hang off to the side. We're going to flip over for some full push-ups. So if you have some beginners in class, they may be on the knees here as well. But if not, you can push it up right to a full push-up, toes curled under, core is engaged, and we're warming it up. We're about 15 reps here as well, controlling the body. Before we flip back over, we're going to make this a little more challenging here with some V-up curls. So take that curl up to the next level by gluing the knees together, contracting the legs, bringing the legs up and sitting like a V, and then curling. So nice controlled curls here. Again, we're about 15 to 20 reps in this position. Everything controlled, everything engaged. Before we move on to a knee paddle. So this is a great strength training movement, but it's also going to help us get our heart rate a little bit elevated. We can pretend we're paddling through the water on our board, but it's really all about engaging the muscles in the back. Our core is engaged here. We're drawing our belly button in towards our spine. We're looking straight ahead as if we were paddling through the water. And we can stay here for, I would say, about 30 to 40 seconds, really get everything going and the muscles in our backs fired up. Let's move on now for some knee rows. So we come up to the knees, we're going to engage the core and row back for about 15 to 20 reps. And now it's time for a lower body 10-minute segment. So we're starting here off the board. We're going to start with just some step ups. So focusing on getting us to a standing position on the board, engaging the lower body, contracting the glutes, working our thighs, our calves, planting that foot on the board. We're stepping up, controlling our body through the lower body, also through the core. So once you get going, you can start to move a little quicker, just tapping that toe on the floor, not putting our full body weight into it. And then we're going to start to bring the knee up in front of us, making it a little bit more engaging, bringing that knee up, stepping down, and then drawing the knee all the way up towards our chest, getting the core fired up, and starting to work the lower body even more and our stability on the board as it moves side to side here. So I would stay here for about 30 seconds. And then we're going to move on to surf squats on the board. So we did one leg and now we're in surf squats. So this is our first time fully on the board, standing on the board for this workout. So really focus on the form here, dropping the hips all the way down, keeping our chest up, keeping our core engaged, looking straight ahead, hips square. We can start to touch the board and reach up to the ceiling. This makes it a little bit more challenging as we're going. So I'd stay here for about 30 seconds and then we're going to go down and repeat our step ups, our knee ups on the opposite leg, and come back up for another set of surf squats. Then we're going to move on to lunges. So a lunge is a really difficult position to get into on the board as we first start. We need to be straight up and down the midline. Our feet are hip width apart, perfectly in line, weight perfectly balanced. We can bring our arms out to the side. So you can demonstrate how to do this using our hands until we're in perfect position, like Mike's doing here, pushing up. So Mike is about 6'5", which will put this in perspective for you. Most of your clients are going to be a little bit shorter than him, so they'll have more room to work on the board. He can span the entire mat. So if someone's a little bit shorter, they may not be spanning the whole mat for a lunge. We want to make sure that front knee is staying above the ankle and not leaning forward, that we're coming straight up and down. Now, before we switch legs, we can bring it into a lunge knee up. So this is a much more challenging movement, bringing that foot back into a lunge, bending the knee, and then slowly bringing the knee up in front, really engaging the core, very challenging on the balance, before we come back down to switch legs. So you can just demonstrate how to come down to the board, grab the rails, and then switch legs, and repeat your lunges and lunge knee ups on the other side. So now we're going to move on to total body, combining the lower and the upper body, standing on the board. We're starting in sup stance. So our stand-up paddle stance, facing forward, feet out to the rails. We're going to engage the core, stand up straight, slight bend in the knees, and we're going to curl up, engaging our biceps here, slowly releasing. Standing in sub stance, just really moving our arms so our elbows are glued into our sides. We can stay here for about 30 seconds, 20 reps. And then we're going to move on to sup flies. So same foot position, same body position. We're going to bring our arms up and out, engaging the muscles in our back. Again, staying focused on the movement of our arms here. We don't want to be moving around yet. So now we're in the same position after about 30 seconds there. This time we're going to row straight back, drawing our scapula together, keeping our chest elevated and our core engaged. And then we're going to move on, and we're going to add a squat into it. So start with the curl. We're going to lower everything down, keeping our chest elevated, good posture, and we're going to curl on the way up, using the power from our legs to curl up, nice and controlled. About 30 seconds there before we move on to sup flies with a squat. So same thing as before, only we're adding that squat. You can see the board starts to tremble. We're engaging the muscles in our lower body, our stabilizers, making this a total body exercise. About 30 seconds here. A little bit longer if you're moving a little bit slower with some clients. And then we'll move on to sub squat rows. So back to the row, drawing our shoulders back, and this time adding that squat in. So squat down, let everything down, and then with power from the lower body, we come up and draw our arms back. On to lunge stance. So we're going to repeat the same 3 movements, only in lunge stance. So bring one foot forward, the other one back. We can use the bands here to really help us move around. And we're going to start with a curl. So trying to keep that front knee over the front ankle, the majority of our weight in that front heel, and we're bringing our arms up for a curl. Now we can do it with a full lunge. So after you've done about 30 seconds, you can switch to this and lunge down and then curl up. Staying in the lunge stance, on that same leg, we're going to do some flies. So same arm movement, only we're in a lunge stance. So you can see that board's going to wobble around a little bit more, slightly more unstable, really, really challenging our stability, balance, also just body control here, trying to keep everything in control as we move the upper body. So now drop it into a lunge, and with the power from our lower body, let's pull it up and work our upper body as well. And last one, our lunge rows. Same position, make sure everybody's right up and down the center of the board, feet hip width apart, perfectly balanced, and we can add that lunge into our row. So lunge down and row up. And of course, we're going to repeat this on the opposite side. So 3 different ways with a total body exercise, lower and upper body. Now let's move on to our plyometric section. So this is the most fun part. We're really going to get the heart rate up, some total body movements, a little bit of jumping involved, but again, always light on the feet. So let's start with hop ups. We want to emphasize that we step down. So although we're hopping up 2 feet, we're stepping down. So Mike's demonstrating here the beginner version, using his hands to bring himself up onto the board. And now a little bit more advanced, squat down and bring ourselves up. So the board itself is a low impact surface. We can really jump onto it as long as we're controlled, but the floor we have to step back down. Unless you have a padded floor, carpet, something that's a little more supportive on the feet, we're going to hop up and land with knees bent and step down. So let's move on. After about 30 seconds there, we're going to come into pop-ups to squats. So come down into a prone position, core right in the center of the board, arms are out, feet are up, and we're going to bring everything up to a pop-up. So you can teach the pop-up if you have some new students, but otherwise we just go right into it, everything controlled, and then we go into some squats. So we start down low with our arms out and our feet up, and then we twist and rotate one explosive movement into that pop-up, staying really low the whole time. It's not a jump. We want to control our body and keep it low to the board. We're going to move on here to some exploding squats. So once we've done pop-ups about 30 seconds, alternating sides, we're going to move to exploding squats. So Mike's demonstrating the beginner version here, stepping in 2 feet, stepping out 2 feet. So he's staying very low to the board, lifting the feet a tiny bit. Now he's going to show you the more advanced version. So this is a very advanced movement. We want to make sure our shoulders are staying level and not jumping up and down. Our shoulders are staying in one line, level, not elevating or dipping, and we're bringing our feet together and feet back out, really challenging our entire lower body plyometrically. So let's move on to a prone to plank. So this is the first step that we teach with a pop-up. if you've watched the exercise directory videos, this is considered pop-up step 1. It's all about that explosive movement in the upper body and the core, going from our paddle position with arms out, feet up, into a plank. Controlling everything, not letting our hips sag or raise up too high. We want to stay in a plank position, bringing everything out and then exploding up. So it's plyometric in our upper body. And of course, we're also really working the core here and trying to stay stable and centered on the board. So now we'll come up into a lunge from that position. So it's a great way to transition into a lunge is coming from a plank, bringing one foot up, stabilizing, pushing off most of the weight in our front heel, and lowering straight up and down. So we're back to that lunge. We're really working our legs here as well. Of course, we need to repeat on both sides. So come back down to bring that opposite foot up. That's the best way to do it. It's a real challenge for a lot of people to switch feet in a lunge stance while standing on the board. If they can do it, that's great. Otherwise, come back down, grab the rails, and assist on the way up. Assist with your hands. So now we're going to move on to our last movement at plyometrics here, surf burpees. So we're going to start with just arms out, feet up in our paddle position. Draw everything in, and we're going to explode all the way up into a sup stance and reach up towards the ceiling. Come back down, control on the way back. You can go 1 foot at a time, more advanced 2 feet at a time. Now let's add a push-up into it and then come up into sup stance. Come back down. You can hop both feet back, controlled, or we can step them back one at a time. Come all the way up into a push-up and then up into sup stance, controlling with those feet. So this is a really challenging total body move. You can probably stay here for about 30 seconds. Let everybody go at their own pace. And then we can add some squats into our burpees too to make it a little more interesting. So once we do our push-up, we're up into sub stance and then we're squats. So complete that whole circuit again before we move to our cool down. About 5 minutes left in the workout here. We're going to start with a lunge balance series. So we're starting in a lunge position. We're really going to fatigue those legs, really make sure that we've done enough work. We're going to stay here and everything should be a little trembly, a little shaky from the workout. We're just going to pulse in a lunge position. So trying to keep that knee above the ankle, emphasizing a straight line up and down with the core, not leaning too far forward. We can lean slightly into it to stretch out our hip flexors and then have everybody try to lift that back foot off the board. So you can see this is a challenge. We're trying to center our weight in that front heel, hinge forward, controlling everything with our core, and slowly, slowly, slowly lowering those fingertips down to the front rails. So the key here is control. It's not flailing or coming down quickly, which a lot of people have the tendency to just drop down to the board. We want them to control the movement. And now we can try to bring our knee up. So come back to standing and bring the knee up forward. Again, our legs are already tired, so this is quite a challenge. Do this really slowly. And we can also throw in here a quad stretch, another balance move, getting a little bit of flexibility on the board. Holding it here for about 30 seconds on each side, and then we'll come back down for another lunge balance series on the other side. So into that lunge stance, our hips should be squared forward. We can bring our arms out, all toes pointing forward. Feet about hip width apart. We'll sink into it, little pulse, and then we can slowly hinge forward when we're ready. So hold it here for a little while before we hinge forward, lifting that back foot up, engaging the core, coming forward, looking straight ahead. Remind everybody that their eyes are so important for balance. So looking at one point without moving, don't let our gaze move, and slowly come down, fingertips to the board, nice and slow and controlled. Hold it here, a little stretch in that standing leg before we come slightly up and bring that knee up forward, maintaining our balance and stability throughout. And this is going to take probably about 2.5 minutes to go through this lunge balance series. And then we want to make sure that we really stretch out the upper body as well, as we worked a lot with resistance bands and that repetitive motion. So let's come down. We're going to look straight ahead and we're going to bring our right arm across to the left rail and press down with our left foot to get a good stretch through our arms, through our back. We want to hold it there for about 30 seconds before coming up and coming back across the body. Left arm over to the right rail, gripping the side, pressing down with our right foot, stretching everything out. And now we can come down, stretch out the lower body and our back here, grab both rails. It's a lot of flexibility, gripping the board, looking straight ahead, breathing, trying to lengthen and take the bend out of our knees. Hold it there for about 30 seconds before we move on to a salutation, a final movement here. We're going to draw all our breath in, hips towards the back wall, gripping the front of the board. And slowly we're going to come dive down, really slow duck dive all the way down and up, flipping their feet over, Slowly breathing in, stretching out our core, pressing up through our palms. We can twist a little bit side to side, stretching out our sides, our obliques, holding it here, deep breaths, appreciating all the work we did today. So it was a lot of strength training. Our muscles should really be feeling it. The lean muscle, and popping everything back up, arms overhead, deep breath in, and release. And that's the end of our build session. So it was a total body workout. We got the heart rate elevated, a lot of balance in here, along with building lean muscle, stability, agility, and power.